Hi, my name is Cindy Rang with the Fabric Patch in Ephrata, Washington. You can find us at fabricpatch.net. And I'm going to show you our 20-minute table runner. This is a really good thing to know how to do because sometimes we just want something fun for the table and we want it to be seasonal, maybe birthday related, something that's celebratory, something that's somebody's special colors, maybe a little housewarming gift, and you don't always have time to create all of those blocks and find all of those fabrics and put it all together. So if you happen to have something where the fabric kind of does all of the work for you, this is something that's perfect for that. So I'm just going to show you a couple quick little tricks and show you how to whip this thing up in no time flat. So what I have here is I have this really cool striped print that I really like. It's from the Peace on Earth line, and then I'm going to pair it. This is going to be my top or back. It's actually very reversible, and I'm going to pair it with this one. I think this one is called Winter Playground, possibly, this fabric line. So I just liked these two together, and all this is you it's a half a yard of fabric, but you're going to cut this down to about 14.5 inches. That math is only because what I really like to use is the fusible table runner batting. This comes 15 inches wide, so that's why I use my magic number of 14.5 inches. But if you have some other kind of scrap of batting that you're going to use, then it doesn't make any difference. You can do it whatever size you like. But what's nice about this is the table runner batting is fusible on one side, again 15 inches, and you only need 1.25 yards of it. And we will put a link to this in the description below if you don't have any scraps of batting. The only other thing that you need is you are going to need a ruler that has a 45-degree angle on it. You'll need your rotary cutter. I like to use a purple thang, and if you don't have something like this, any kind of a stiletto, anything that you can kind of poke out a little corner works really well. And then if you like either clips or pins to secure your piece, whichever you prefer is fine. All right, so what I have here is I have two pieces, and again, if you've started with a half a yard, I have personally trimmed this down to 14.5. If you have a different size table, again, it can be any size you'd like, but what I've got here is width of fabric, so 42 inches roughly. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut my salvages off on both of these, and I do want to make sure that my pieces are exactly the same size. I can measure it on my mat, but this is a 20-minute table runner, so instead I'm laying them on top of each other, making sure that I'm still cutting off all of the salvage. So now what I have is two pieces of fabric that are the same width, again 14.5, same length, that now is maybe roughly 40 inches. So now what I'm going to do is cut off my corners. I'm going to go ahead and keep these stacked up so that I can cut 2 corners, or actually 4 corners, all at the same time. All right, so now that we've cut off all of our salvages, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut a 45-degree angle. And you'll see why when we get to the end. I think it's just a really nice finish. So what I'm going to do is turn this around, only because I happen to be right-handed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler, and I don't know if you can see this very well, but here is my 45-degree angle on here. If you are left-handed, you can do the same thing. And cut it the same way. It's just going to be flipped. So I've got my 45-degree angle, and I'm lining this up on this edge right here. And as I line this up, I'm going to measure over however many inches you'd like. I kind of like to do 3. I feel like 3 is that magic number. So if you can look here, here's my 45, and you can see that I've got 1, 2, 3 over to this edge. I have 45 along the side here, and I actually also have my 45-degree angle along the top here. See where those are? 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to cut right here. Now the other thing I want you to notice is that I am cutting through 4 layers at once. I'm cutting through both sides of my back piece, both sides of my top piece. So you have to be pretty sure that you're cutting it properly, because if not, we've cut through 8 pieces incorrectly. And move that. And now I'm going to do it again. Line this up. Here is my 45 right here. Here's my 45 right here. 1, 2, 3. Cut through all of those layers. And this is just waist, or, you know, whatever. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to put right sides together. And again, for me, I happen to have kind of a little scrap of batting that I'm using, but if you don't have that, you can just get some really nice table runner batting that's exactly the right size. So I'm going to layer this all together. All right, I actually have 2 little leftover pieces of batting, so I've changed my mind. This one is a piece of cotton that I had left over from a quilt, which would work great for a table runner, especially if it's a decorative table runner. But you know what I was thinking is that if this is going to be on a table and I might end up putting some hot dishes on it in the center of the table or for a buffet, you might actually want something that's going to be protectant. So this is Insulbrite, and Insulbrite has this little layer of Kevlar basically in it. And so what will happen is if you put some hot dishes on it, it actually will protect your table. So it is a little crinkly if you hear it. And some people don't like that. I love that because I know in a second that this is a table runner that I can use to be able to put dishes on, and I don't have to worry about those pot holders. So that's what you actually use this for, is pot holders. So I'm going to go ahead and use this piece of batting. The other thing I want to mention is that if your batting is just a little bit bigger, really all you have to do is just cut this down, because you'll be able to trim it after you sew it. So I'm not going to worry so much about the exact 14.5 inches or 15 inches that I'm starting with, because, oops, I'm going to trim it after I sew it. So now all I'm going to do is go ahead and just pin this into place so nothing slips. And if you don't use the little magic clips, wonder clips I think is what they're called, it just makes pinning a whole lot easier and holds everything in place when you're sewing. Easy on, easy off. What I'm going to do after I have this all clipped is I'm going to go to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew all the way around. I'm going to leave a little space open for turning, so I'll probably leave about 5 or 6 inches. You just don't want to do it anywhere near a corner. You can kind of choose for yourself. I tend to choose something along the long path here, and I'm just going to double back stitch, sew all the way around using my 1/4 inch seam allowance, all the way back, and back stitch where I've ended. Okay, so I just sewed all the way around, and again, I left a space open here that is, I don't know, probably 5 inches or so. So now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and trim off that little excess of my batting. What's nice about doing it this way is that you just don't have to worry if something slips or slides just a little bit. And again, you can just use up all of those leftover bits that we have at the bottom of our quilts. Okay, now I'm going to turn it right side out. And usually the easiest thing is to reach your hand in. That's why you want to give it about 5 inches. Pull one side and then reach your hand in and pull the other side. And then I am going to turn on the iron and I'm going to give it kind of a good press. And I'm going to use the purple thing for poking out those weird little corners, and I'll show you those in a second. Okay. So the purple thing, or again, any stiletto, anything that you have, what's nice about this, it has a little flat side and it has a little pointy side, but it's also heat resistant. So when I have the iron on, if I'm coming through and poking out these corners, if I want to hit it with the iron at the same time, I can go ahead and do that. So I'm going to turn the iron on, get it heated up, and press this. Okay, so I got it turned right side out. I got my little corners out and I gave it a press. So all I have to do is you just have to kind of press those outside edges, and where your opening is, all you need to do is just fold that in, fold that under, and again give it a little press. Because now what I'm going to do is, instead of hand stitching that close, which you can do, I'm going to instead go back to the sewing machine and I'm going to do a top stitch all the way around. What that will do is it will close up my opening. It'll give a nice little finish around the edge that almost looks like a binding. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Okay, that's it. Less than 20 minutes. Half a yard of fabric for the top, half a yard of fabric for the back. And if you're using the purchased table runner batting, you only need 1.25 yards. And again, what's nice about this, you can go ahead and give it an extra press if you want to, but the whole reason for top stitching that is just to give it that nice little finished edge. You can add more quilting in here if you want to, if you have time to, if you'd like to, but you don't really need to. What happens with the Insole Bright is that you don't have to quilt that super close together in order for it to wash properly. So there you have it, this nice little 20-minute table topper that's perfect for putting hot dishes on, and not only that, it's absolutely reversible depending upon how you want to decorate your table. So have fun and make lots of these for all sorts of celebratory occasions.
Thank you for watching our video. We invite you to leave a comment, hit the like button, or better yet, subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. You can also visit our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or Pinterest pages, or find all of those things and our online store at fabricpatch.net.